How dare he try to tell me how to raise my kids after he have abandoned us? He has some nerve.
The Braxton family has long been viewed as a glamorous, talented, tight-knit unit of sisters who overcame hardship through faith, music, and unbreakable loyalty. For years, that was the image they sold to the world on their reality show and in interviews. Strong black women holding each other up no matter what. But in recent times, cracks that were always there have started to split wide open, and the person doing most of the splitting is the youngest sister, Tamar Braxton. What started as typical reality TV drama has slowly morphed into something deeper and more painful, with Tamar now openly connecting her own emotional struggles, her loud personality, and even her pattern of falling out with people to the environment she grew up in, an environment, she says, that was heavily shaped by her mother, Evelyn Braxton, affectionately known as Miss E. For the longest time, whenever Tamar had an outburst, posted a cryptic message, or clashed with one of her sisters, the public reaction was almost automatic. There goes Tamar being dramatic again. She was labeled the problem child, the one who couldn't keep peace, the sister who always took things too far. Fans and critics alike rolled their eyes at her one-liners, her shade, her refusal to stay quiet when everyone else seemed ready to move on. But lately, Tamar has been speaking with a different kind of clarity. She's no longer just defending herself or throwing jabs. She's explaining where it all comes from. And the place she keeps pointing to is her childhood home, where resentment, unresolved pain, and a very specific kind of maternal control set the tone for how every sister learned to handle emotions, conflict, and loyalty. At the heart of Tamar's recent revelations is the long, bitter divorce between her parents, Evelyn and Michael Braxton Sr. The marriage ended over 2 decades ago after Evelyn discovered her husband's infidelity. That betrayal never really left her. People close to the family say the anger and hurt stayed fresh for years, coloring everything that happened afterward. Evelyn raised 6 children largely on her own, and no one disputes the sacrifices she made or the strength it took. But according to Tamar and others who have watched the dynamic up close, that pain didn't stay private. It seeped into the walls of the house. It became the background music to their childhood. The sisters didn't just witness their mother's heartbreak, they absorbed it. They learned, whether they meant to or not, how to carry grudges, how to weaponize loyalty, how to make past hurt the justification for present behavior. One of the most damaging things, Tamar says, was that during the divorce, the children were forced to pick sides. If any of them tried to maintain a relationship with their father, they faced real consequences from their mother. That created an unspoken rule: you're either with Miss E completely or you're against her. Tracy Braxton, the sister who passed away in 2022, reportedly bore the brunt of this for years because she refused to cut her father off. She lived closest to him in Maryland and kept that bond strong, no matter how Evelyn felt about it. Sources say Evelyn never fully forgave Tracy for that choice, and some believe she carried that resentment right up until Tracy's death. The idea that a mother's decades-old anger could strain a mother-daughter relationship that severely is heartbreaking. But it also explains so much about why the sisters sometimes seem to love each other yet struggle to truly get along. Tamar, as the baby of the family, took a different path. She aligned herself completely with her mother. Whatever Miss E said, Tamar echoed. Whatever Miss E felt, Tamar felt. Over time, that closeness turned into something closer to emotional dependency. Tamar has admitted that for most of her life, she ran every decision, every opinion, every feeling past her mother first. If Evelyn didn't approve, it didn't happen. That kind of dynamic might look like devotion from the outside, but it also meant Tamar never fully learned how to trust her own voice unless it was amplified through her mother's approval. And when she did eventually start speaking for herself, especially in ways that challenged the family script, the backlash was swift. People who grew up in similar households recognized the pattern immediately. A parent who has been deeply hurt, especially by abandonment or betrayal, sometimes responds by tightening control over everyone left in their orbit. Love becomes intertwined with obedience. Sacrifice becomes a currency that buys silence. Questioning the parent, even gently, feels like the ultimate betrayal because after everything I've done for you is always waiting in the wings. Tamar says Miss E ruled the house that way. She loved being the loudest, the final word, the one who was always right. Disagreeing wasn't just disagreement. It was disrespect. And because Evelyn had raised 6 kids mostly alone, any pushback could be met with a reminder of that struggle, instantly framing the daughters as ungrateful if they dared speak up. That emotional atmosphere didn't just affect how the sisters related to their mother, it affected how they related to one another. Arguments rarely stayed between two people. They ballooned into loyalty tests. Old wounds got dragged into new fights. Someone always ended up feeling like they had to choose between a sister and their mother's approval. And because Tamar was the one most openly tethered to Evelyn for so long, when she finally started pulling away and speaking her own mind, it disrupted the entire system. Suddenly, the sister who had always been the loudest yes to Miss E was saying, "Wait a minute," and no one knew how to handle it. Viewers who have gone back to watch old episodes of Braxton Family Values with this new context say it's like watching a completely different show. Moments that used to seem like typical reality TV messiness now look layered with unspoken trauma. You see Evelyn stepping into conflicts that have nothing to do with her, redirecting the conversation back to her own pain, her own sacrifices, her own version of events. You see Tamar trying to express hurt or frustration, only to be talked over or shut down until she eventually explodes just to finish a sentence. You see the other sisters exchanging glances, walking on eggshells, trying to keep the peace, because keeping the peace has always meant keeping Miss E calm. And yet for years, Tamar took the blame for all of it. She was too loud, too extra, too sensitive, too confrontational. When she and Tony clashed, it was Tamar's fault. When she and Trina had tension, Tamar started it. When the group fell apart on the show, Tamar was the common denominator everyone pointed to. She became the family scapegoat, the one who carried the label of difficult so the deeper dysfunction could stay comfortably out of focus. Being the most outspoken in a family that preferred to keep things polished and private made her the perfect target. Now, as Tamar approaches 50, she's refusing to carry that label quietly anymore. She's on what she calls a healing journey. And part of that healing is telling the truth out loud, even when the truth implicates the person the public has always seen as the hero of the story, the strong single mother who held it all together. Tamar isn't denying her mother's strength or her love. She's simply saying that love came with weights attached, weights that the daughters have been dragging behind them for decades. The internet's reaction has been split, as it always is with Tamar. Some people are exhausted by the constant drama and feel she should handle family business privately, especially at her age. Others see her openness as courageous, the kind of radical honesty that forces people to confront their own family patterns. Many are relating hard, sharing stories of growing up with parents who never healed from their own pain and unknowingly passed that trauma down like an unwanted inheritance. Comments like "Miss E is the villain we never saw coming" or "This is my mother exactly" have flooded social media, proving that the Braxton story, messy as it is, resonates far beyond their famous last name. What's undeniable is that the narrative has shifted. For the first time, large numbers of people are questioning whether Tamar's dramatic personality was ever really the root problem, or whether it was a survival mechanism developed in a home where emotions were either suppressed or explosive, where loyalty was demanded more than earned, and where one woman's unprocessed pain became the blueprint for how everyone else was expected to live. Love in the Braxton family is real. No one who has watched them over the years doubts that. But love and compatibility are not the same thing, and love alone doesn't erase the scars left by years of emotional pressure. The sisters may always care for one another deeply, but caring and coexisting peacefully are two different skills, and the environment they grew up in didn't teach them the second one very well.